What made me fire ChatGPT is I put the same prompt in my Claude as I had in my ChatGPT. My ChatGPT had all this history, it knew everything about me. The output that came from Claude was leaps and bounds stronger, more professional, more buttoned up than my ChatGPT. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I'm like, okay, Claude, audit my calendar and make some recommendations. Goes into my Google Calendar, analyzes everything, boom. What does Claude do? Reorganizes my weekly recurring meetings, actually updates the calendar invites, sends them to my team, and it will send me a notification. It will text me and Slack me, letting me know this task is complete. Less than 1% of the people using AI right now are using agentic AIs or scheduling tasks. So you're still very, very far ahead of the curve. There's no AI experts. The best thing you can do is just dive in and start messing around. I am a hardcore Claude girly now. I fired my ChatGPT, not bringing her back. Welcome to Stacked, the show that helps you become your own best asset. Because in case you missed it, you're allowed to have a high vibe and a high net worth. Welcome back to Stacked. I'm your host, Emily, and if you're new here, Stacked is a show about money, Bitcoin, entrepreneurship, and wellness, built specifically for women who are done being talked down to about any of those things. Most of the episodes, I'm sitting across from somebody I genuinely admire, and we go deep, but every so often, we turn the camera on myself. These solo episodes are the ones that I get the most questions about before they even air because the topics are personal and they're the stuff I like to talk about a lot on Instagram stories most of the time. So today we are going to talk about AI and how I am using AI in my business. I am obsessed with AI. So if you know me and if you are just now getting to know me, you are going to learn I use these products all day, every day for everything, and I have been for a couple of years now. So how did I get started in AI? So kind of, I would say like everybody else, I started off using ChatGPT for, asking random questions. How long do I cook this chicken so that it comes out this way? And eventually the questions started getting a little bit deeper, a little bit more complex, everything from, navigating interpersonal issues to getting advice to being, turning my ChatGPT into a strategic partner. I would say that was kind of the biggest first way I was really able to leverage the LLMs, the AI in an empowering and meaningful way. But as far as like my first impression on AI goes, I was honestly blown away by how quickly it responded, by how most of the time it was accurate. And like, keep in mind, it was about two or so years ago when ChatGPT kind of first came out and became really mainstream. And I would say last year, I started treating it more like a strategic partner. And I learned that there were different prompts you could put in where you say, ChatGPT, act like the chief marketing officer of Bloomingdale's, act like the chief marketing officer of X, Y, and Z mega brand and help me come up with a strategy to drive, ticket sales for this 200-person event, or help me come up with a rebrand strategy. So I started creating different personas inside. This was ChatGPT at the time, inside ChatGPT. And then as time progressed, I started making different folders for different projects I was working on. So as it pertains to Brickell Babes, I created a folder that was my events planner. I had a folder that was my social media manager. I trained that folder, the AI in that folder, to be social media manager, create engaging content calendars, captions, brand voice. And then we also had, there were a bunch of other like subfolders there, but it started really organizing projects by almost like role that you would hire a human for, but being a small scrappy startup. We didn't have a budget to hire people. So I started training these different personas in ChatGPT. And that was super helpful. I definitely noticed some issues in ChatGPT. And this is, I would say, I made the Claude switch 6 weeks ago, I want to say. But I started noticing ChatGPT, it was very favorable. You would have to almost abuse it to get it to tell you the truth or give you constructive feedback because it was so agreeable, and it's not very financial. I switched over to Claude about 6 weeks ago, and what really kind of, what made me fire ChatGPT? What made me fire ChatGPT is I put the same prompt in my Claude as I had in my ChatGPT. My ChatGPT had all this history. It knew everything about me. My Claude had very limited history. It didn't know so much about me. And I asked both of them to come up with, it was a partnership strategy for, say, the Brickell Babes. They both have access to the internet. They can look things up. The output that came from Claude was leaps and bounds stronger, more professional, more buttoned up than my ChatGPT. So I'm what the heck is going on? This ChatGPT, I thought it knew everything about me. I thought it was such a good strategic partner. And now here's this new, the newest update of Claude had come out. This is so much better. I'm completely blown away. What is going on? So I start moving different tasks into Claude. And in ChatGPT, I had connected some apps to my ChatGPT, but it was not integrated with really anything else in my business's tech stack. Claude, I immediately connected everything. So I connected Claude to my Google Drive. I connected Claude. I gave it access to my email. I gave it access to my entire Slack channel, Slack everything. I gave it access to, it text messages me. I gave it access to my calendar. I gave it access to files on my desktop. And our Google Drive has everything on it, everything from marketing, financial, legal. It has the podcast. It has the Brickell Babes. It has everything there. So I, first of all, give it access to everything. And I started testing out different tasks that I had been seeing on Twitter. So I'm on Bitcoin Twitter, working on growing my Twitter there. If you're there, give me a follow. But because I'm on Bitcoin Twitter, that means I'm also on AI Twitter because there's a lot of overlap between the two. So I see all of these different prompts, all these different ways people are using AI every single day. And it just starts piquing your curiosity. You save a couple prompts down, and then, I started spending the weekends. I have a friend that's very good at computer programming, computer engineering. And we started spending literally the full weekend together just doing Claude. So nerdy, but I was getting very excited and I wanted to try all of these different things. I also had a few friends get open claws, and they were showing me what they were able to do with their businesses. And it was insane. My mind was blown. But I wasn't quite ready to commit to an open claw. And I had heard from a friend that they were not safe. So I'm you know what? I'm going to just start messing around with Claude. I'm going to see what I can do. So I start off, I have it, rearrange the files in my downloads folder on my desktop. I asked it, clean it up. It cleans it up. It organizes everything. It relabels everything perfectly. Okay, great. This is a great first start. Next, I'm okay. I had seen somebody on Twitter or Instagram say they had their Claude optimize their calendar for maximum time efficiency and maximizing their bandwidth during the work week. So I'm okay, Claude, audit my calendar and make some recommendations. Goes into my Google Calendar, analyzes everything, gives me some recommendations. I'm okay, great. I like your recommendations. Boom. What does Claude do? Reorganizes my weekly recurring meetings, actually updates the calendar invites, sends them to my team. Boom, we're good. It was very cool. It was it literally took over my Chrome. It was wild. And that's the other thing I forgot to mention. I connected it to Chrome. So there's a Chrome plugin you can get on your Claude, which allows Claude, it's a Claude MCP, to take over your Google Chrome. So I did connect that. Okay, so that was kind of like my next little foray. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. We're cruising along here. And we just kind of kept going from there. So then the next step after you're getting it to do these kind of like singular tasks is you want to think about, what is something that I'm doing like more than twice a week that is kind of like something a monkey could do, or like something I could teach a robot to do. And it's a repetitive task I want done every week. So for me, that is, I bring my Otter AI comes to all of my meetings with me. It's a transcriber and it recaps meetings. So I built an automation where at the end of the day, Claude will go look for my meetings, see if there's any transcriptions from meetings that we had. It will actually take that transcript from Otter AI, paste it into a Word doc on my Google Chrome, in my Google Drive, save it, label it correctly, name of the meeting, the date, and then it will also create a summary of that. And if there's follow-up needed, it will draft an email for me to follow up from that meeting. So say we have a brand partnership meeting, my Claude will not only listen to that meeting, but it will access other files in our Google Drive, knowing like the partnership structure, past conversations, and put together a proposed email. Of course, I have to read this over and check it, but like it's a really good starting point. It saves a ton of time, and it will send me a notification. It will text me and Slack me, letting me know this task is complete. So that's a huge time saver that we've been able to create. It's really, really powerful, really incredible. And then another one that I've set up is called, well, it doesn't have a name, but because I've connected my Claude to my Slack, I have Claude comb Slack at the end of every day or first thing in the morning, and let me know, it creates an email for me, letting me know any outstanding issues that I haven't followed up with or that are still outstanding for us in general. So we have, for Slack, we have everything for Brickell Babes in there. We have the ambassadors in there. We have partnerships in there. And then we also have everything related to the podcast in there. So there's a lot of different moving parts. And because we're doing so much with such a small team, we can't let anything slip through the cracks. And we need to really be moving it at lightning speed. So another great, really efficient task that we have Claude do. So what I was able to do is now I had learned how to use all of these different functionalities, and I started teaching the rest of my team. So I had them, I'm like, you guys look at Claude, look at these reports that it's building, look at these recaps. It's such an insanely powerful, really remarkable tool. How can we use this for the rest of the team? So the rest of the teams also connected their Slack, their email, and the Google Drive on their end, so that they're able to, as they're creating, if you're creating content, they're creating emails, they're creating, whatever it is they're doing, they're actually able to go in, reference our brand rules, our show rules, our brand voice. There's a different brand voice for Stacked versus Brickell Babes, different personas, different, level of emoji use, just totally different strategies. And so their Claude is actually able to reference those living documents as we make edits to them and change them, which is super cool. And it's been able to save a ton of time. It's become a really like a strategic partner in the business for everybody that's involved. So we switched to Claude across the board, and I'm actually now on not the highest tier of Claude yet. So I had built these workflows that I'm talking about, the automations. So those get built in Claude Code or Claude Cowork. So Claude Cowork is actually the same thing as Claude Code. It just has a pretty package and wrapper on it, essentially, to make it it explained easily, but you actually don't need to understand coding. You need to understand how to architect what do you want. And then periodically you go in and you say, is this the most efficient workflow? Are you double checking your work? What can we do to improve this? And I often will tell my Claude Code that you are the chief engineering officer at Google. Please optimize this workflow and address any errors, make sure that this is all functioning up to speed. So that is another thing that I've done. And I should have said this at the beginning, but you have to download the desktop application of Claude to really get the most out of this. So definitely download desktop application for Claude, and then that's how you're going to want to connect everything in there. Okay, so where is AI actually integrated in my business right now? Not theoretically, but in practice. So in practice, on the podcast side of things, we use it to review transcripts from episodes, edit transcripts. We use it to produce all the social assets, descriptions, bios. We use it, which is a lot. We use it for that. We use it to help us pull viral clip moments. We use it to give guidance on editing for the trailer. And then we also use it for project management as well. So we're using it on a lot of different things. And then on the Brickell Babes side, we are using it. I would say we don't have as much automations or as many agentics like on external facing things, but we have it very highly involved in a lot of our internal workflows and just like day-to-day project management and operational sides of the business. It's very, very involved. Okay, so we're building automations with N8N. So for somebody who has no idea what that means, what are we doing? So previously we've been using, for many, many years, I've used Zapier as my automation. It's kind of the gold standard for getting different pieces of the tech stack to talk to each other. So is it like your Eventbrite platform or your Tally or your Airtable? How do those talk to the different platforms and push information through? So the gold standard for many, many years has been Zapier. Zapier, you pay per task, per usage, which gets really expensive. It can cost businesses hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month when you're paying per task. There is a new product out called N8N that you pay a flat rate on. So you're not paying per usage. So we are currently in the process of taking all of our Zapier automations off of Zapier, and I think they actually finished today. They're fully switched over to N8N. So N8N is, I think it's like $8, $12 a month versus the couple $100 a month we were spending on Zapier. And there were a lot of like broken links there. So now we have left Zapier, we're on N8N. And then with N8N, we're able to connect the API for Claude to the N8N of our business. So we can build agentics who are able to respond to, frequently asked questions for the Brickell Babes community. We're able to build automations for a lot of different things, to evaluate inbound partnership leads, to create proposals, to just do all different kinds of things. And those can either feed to us through email, they can feed to us through Slack, they can be created as files on our Google Drive and saved down. We get a text message or not even text message, an iMessage notification or a Slack message letting us know, hey, this first draft is complete, take a look, which is super, super cool and a great way to save a lot of money. So what is agentic AI? What does that mean? And why does it matter for other small business owners right now? So agentic AI, I'm literally obsessed with. If you know me, you know that I'm talking about agentic AI all the time, nonstop. I probably sound like a crazy person or an agentic AI addict. It's because I am. So agentic AI means essentially it comes from the word agent. So you can create different agents to do different work streams. And sometimes, and this is what happened to me, I wanted to create I had a great idea for something I knew could be automated. I thought, this is kind of like a monkey job. If I could just tell the computer what to do, it will do it. My LLM to do it, it will work. And I had this great idea to build an agent. And I wanted the agent to round up a bunch of news articles that fit within my brand guidelines, categorize it, organize it, create a chart of some leading indicators in the digital asset space, commodity space, and put some pictures in from my Google Drive, pull some, I had all these things I wanted it to do. And I'm like, great, I can have an agent do this. So yes, you can have an agent do that. And this is kind of answering two questions at once. But so what I learned from this process of building this amazing, what I thought was one agent to do this whole job, was that it was not a project for one agent. So I built this automation in Claude Cowork, and it worked, but it kept timing out. And I asked for feedback. Why is this timing out? What do I do? And what the answer was the workflow was way too complicated. I needed to split it up into smaller work streams with sub-agents that report into a master agent, and also sub-tasks. And I needed to rebuild the entire work stream in Claude Code. So this was a really great exercise for me because it had me learning in real time. I think the fastest and the best way for anybody that's interested in automating aspects of their business, building agentic AIs, scheduling tasks, is to pick a task that you do more than twice a week or more than twice a day that is something that, an AI would be able to create or to replicate, and work on just building that one singular task. And you're going to learn so much by doing it. And if you have questions, you just ask your Claude, how do I solve this? The number of times I uploaded screenshots of my error messages or being stuck and asking what the next step is a lot of times, but that's how I was able to actually learn and go through the steps. And I still do that. I still do that today. So I think the opportunity here for other small business owners is to think about, what am I spending a lot of time on? What is something I don't like doing? What is a repetitive task that would make my life easier? And it's something that is, happening on a computer. So I think there's so many different things to do. It's starting with what makes sense for you and your business. And the best thing you can do for yourself right now is get deeply, deeply, involved in Claude and just start messing around and trying things out. And you're going to surprise yourself. The space is moving so fast right now that there's, no better time than today. I saw a statistic the other day that says less than 1% of the people using AI right now, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, Claude, whichever platform you're on, are using agentic AIs or scheduling tasks. So you're still very, very far ahead of the curve. And I think even if you are not a small business owner, if you are an employee at another company working for somebody else, the best thing you can do right now is figure out how to learn as much about AI automations, agentic AI as possible, because it is only going to free up more time for you and make your life easier. And there's a lot of ways you can scale things and grow businesses and simplify your life. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, you can optimize your after-school pickup schedule with an AI, and you could have yourself getting sent email reminders of the school schedule, of the after school activities. There's so much you can do. It's so powerful. So I think, it's very early. There's nowhere really to take classes. There's no AI experts. The best thing you can do is just dive in and start messing around and see what happens. Did I make mistakes early on in how I was using AI that I would tell other people to avoid? No, I think making mistakes is part of the process. I think you have to mess around. You have to break things in order to learn from them. I don't regret building a whole newsletter automation workflow in Cowork only to have to rebuild it in Claude Code later because I learned so much about the process. It was a really good exercise for me at the end of the day. What is one thing AI cannot do for me where human judgment is irreplaceable? I think a lot on like we have a gut feeling. So like the AI isn't smart. AI only knows what you tell it, and it only knows how to operate within the parameters and the guardrails that you give it. Things like gut reactions, things like knowing if a partnership is right for you, things like making emotional or personal decisions that should not be left to AI. You also it doesn't know the whole context, right? Like, I think AI is a great tool for helping us operate businesses more efficiently and leanly, but you still need people architecting the systems. You still need somebody shaping the way that the systems are working. That needs to come from a human. And then the in-person element of anything that you're doing, relationships, business relationships, personal relationships, AI will never take that away from us. And I think if anything, it makes in-person community, in-person engagement, interaction that much more important in this day and age. What will AI infrastructure for Brickell Babes and Stacked look like in my head a year from now? Honestly, I don't think that much will have changed. I think we'll just continue building on what we're building and have things running more smoothly. I'd like to get everything, right now it runs on my computer. My computer has to be open. I'd like to get it into the cloud so that I don't have to have the computer open all the time. But I think it will just be more of the same. And if anything, for my businesses, we'll be doing more in-person stuff and more live stuff because that will become so much more important. All right, you guys, this was such a fun episode to talk all things AI, my favorite topic. As you know, I am a hardcore Claude girly now. I fired my ChatGPT, not bringing her back. And this was a ton of fun. We're starting to host Claude coworking meetups here in Miami. If you guys are interested in joining, make sure you are following the Brickell Babes, and we will see you in person. If you have not yet subscribed, liked, or commented on this episode, please do. All of your engagement helps so much right now since we're still so early on. We'll see you next week. That's a wrap on this episode of Stacked. If this one added value, share it with someone who's ready to level up their financial life. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a rating and review. It helps us keep the show going and reach more people who are serious about becoming their own best asset. You can subscribe to our newsletter at www.stackedassets.co for weekly intel on Bitcoin markets, business, and living well. Follow along on socials at Stacked Assets or my personal at Emily Dempsey for more on Bitcoin business and building the life you actually want. I'll see you next week. Stay stacked.